Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Abel, and if you know me, I used to have another YouTube channel that I abandoned 5 years ago. And here I am trying to start up another one. And this time we're going to be talking about music. And seeing as we're going to be talking about music, I figured the best way to kind of introduce myself is to take a look at the music that I have. When it comes to record collecting myself, I essentially will go for the music that I think is the best, at least at the time of purchasing. When it comes to an album, I look for the album that is going to essentially play on my record player without me having to skip anything. So if an album has 10 tracks and I like 9 of them, that's worthy of getting an album for it. If I like 7 or less, then it's not worthy of an album. For the most part, a lot of these albums are going to be my favorites. There are times when I decided to get an album simply because I felt like I needed to have it. But in any case, I digress. So today, I want to see how long this is going to take, but we're going to go through some of my favorite albums. I do have rap and R&B, I have a lot of instrumentals, and I have a lot of rock and sort of emo pop. So we're going to get into that. We're going to start off with Adele. Okay, this is her latest album release. I have not listened to it yet, so this actually might be my first album review for next week. I do want to show off this artwork. This is, from what I was told, a very personal, very vulnerable album. I think the thing that I like most about this so far, even before listening to it, is the fact that it does come in this very ceramic white record. I've never seen anything like it before. So I am very much excited to listen to it and give you guys my reaction. Next album on the list is Florence and the Machine, Ceremonials. Ceremonials is probably their best album, in my opinion. I haven't listened to anything from Florence and the Machine in probably a few years. But I remember this being one of their best works. So definitely take a look at it. I do love the fact that it does come in these like almost metallic sleeves, but it's just, from what I remember, it's just a standard black LP. Next we have Lorde. Lorde is one of those artists that kind of came and haven't really, I wouldn't say lived up to this first album here, but I would say, and I think everyone would agree, that this album right here is probably her best. It is one of those albums that really does live in its era, and essentially what this album really did for me was it got me into a lot of other genres that I still listen to this day. Credit for this album right here. One of my favorites, Banks. This is her first album. Very, very experimental, very dark R&B, very moody. One of the things I really love about Banks is that she always is there to really create her music her own way. She's not really looking to emulate any other singers, any other styles. A lot of times people will steal from her, being as she is a little bit indie, a little bit underrated. How I actually got to know of her was I got to see The Weeknd in 2013, and she was opening for him. So, definitely a recommendation there. And while we're on this, I would definitely recommend her second album. I'm surprised I still don't have the third one yet, but this is her second album. Very good hits as well. Unskippable tracks. I can listen to this all day long without having to really skip through anything. Sown. Sown is also another underrated artist, at least here in the United States. Sown is one of those artists where you listen to his sound and you will recognize it if you listen to remixes that he's done, anything like that. But I do recommend checking him out, only because I can only describe this music as music that you would play during the winter. You got some hot chocolate or just a warm drink in general, and you want to kick back and relax, listen to something nice. This is definitely the album for it. Around the same realm, James Blake. James Blake here is also one of those artists that you will listen to, you will recognize the sound. I know he's getting a lot bigger because he is collaborating with a lot of artists, but when I did get this album, he was very obscure. This is his second album, I believe, though. But it's one of his best, honestly. One of these albums, or this record right here, very, very nice. Ellie Goulding's Delirium album. And this is a special pressing of Delirium, because when I got this, I failed to realize that one of the LPs in here has side D printed twice. So I don't have side C on here. Not really much of a loss there, because, you know, it's not the album that I would have usually by Ellie Goulding. I would rather have either her first or second album on a record pressing, but this is what I could get at the time, so I'm okay with it. This I just got. I can't pronounce the album's or band's name. I can't pronounce the artist's name, but essentially this is really good. It's very like rock experimental. It's almost like something you would hear in Eastern Europe right after the Soviet Union collapsed. So it is a really good album, though. I got Halsey's first album. Halsey's first album is actually probably her best. I haven't listened to the latest one, so don't judge me for that. But this was iconic at the time, and one of my first albums that I got on vinyl. And only because the record was in this very nice pink pressing. Very nice. And of course I have Halsey's second album. This album I didn't really listen to as much. I don't really go back to. I'm not sure why. It's not really as good of an album now versus when I first got this. But maybe I'll get around to it and listen to it again, maybe tell you guys what I think in another album review. Next on the list, we got Lemonade by Beyonce. And this is of course, I think everyone knows that this is probably her best work of art. At least for me personally, I think this has a lot of heart and soul, and a lot of effort and time was used to make this a very decent work of art. And I also love this yellow. This yellow is absolutely gorgeous. Childish Gambino, because the internet. And this is actually one of my favorite records of all time, especially being that this vinyl edition also comes with the screenplay for this record. A lot of times people will say, oh, a lot of times I can't talk! A lot of times people will say that this album is all over the place. And it is, a little bit, but reading the screenplay really does help kind of center the focus around the story. Jhené Aiko's Sold Out. Jhené Aiko is one of my favorite artists of all time. If you know me, you know this. Nothing too special about the vinyl record here. It's pressed in black, but specifically with this album, it is the beginning of her looking for that ethereal sound that she finally finds in Trip. This is the album that preludes this. You have to be in the right mindset to really listen to this album. You can't just be listening to it on the go, which is primarily why I have it in vinyl. I don't listen to it, in the car or just, no, this really needs to be sat down with to get the full experience. This is a bootlegged pressing of What a Time to Be Alive. I appreciated the fact that they decided, and it's actually one of my first records. I didn't know I was buying a bootleg, but this is a bootlegged one. I do appreciate the fact that they put it on clear vinyl, although this clear vinyl is getting a little bit yellowed. So It is bootleg though. Arguably the worst Jay-Z album in his entire discography. And I don't know why I have it on record. I think this is one of the ones where I thought I needed to have it just to have it. But yeah, no, not a good album to have. Migos, their first and only good record ever, Culture, is actually a good listen. I did not feel like it was something that I had to skip through. Actually, none of these songs I would want to skip through. It's something that I would definitely play if I had a party going or something like that. No skippable tracks on this. This is also an album I thought I needed to have. And unfortunately, I don't really listen to Travis Scott anymore after his old Astroworld fiasco that killed 8 people. So we're just really not going to acknowledge this. Future, DS2, also his best record. Very cohesive, very consistent. Comes off from the 56 Nights mixtape that I really also like. I do appreciate the fact that he took the time, or I mean, I guess his team took the time to really go through and make these records aesthetically pleasing. You have this one in blue, but you also have another one in purple. Lupe Fiasco. This is the Cool album. Lupe Fiasco is one of the best wordsmiths, best lyricists of our time. But that's just my opinion. I have this album from him. I also have this album, even though I hate it. This is the only album I hate. I hate this one. It's terrible. It's poppy. It's not his sound. You could tell his record label forced him to put whatever monstrosity this was, but it's okay. I also have Drogas Light. This is very trap influenced, but this is also a Lupe Fiasco album as well. And that's all I got for y'all for this video, my first video on this channel. Again, I have a bunch more records to go over as well, but I don't have the time in my head. I'm basically spent out, so we can keep this for part 2, but hopefully next week I can get you a review going. If I ever do this thing again, it's definitely going to be a review. I might be doing Adele's album, but we'll go from there. If I do a review, we'll see. But anyways, thank you all for coming to this show of a video. I apologize that I've wasted your time.